Alright, so UFC 291 coming up this weekend. Looks like a very good
Yeah,
card.
one of the best cards of the year, right? I mean, UFC
Oh
290
yeah.
happened. A lot of people might argue that was the best card, but some people would argue we got the best card coming up this weekend.
Honestly, I might even be more excited for this one than I was for UFC 291, for UFC 290, sorry. But we're gonna be giving our predictions in this video. We're gonna start off on the early prelims.
Yeah,
Summer
we're gonna make our way
Maverick.
up to the we're gonna work our way up to the main card slowly but surely. Don't worry. So this might be a bit of a long video, so just strap yourselves in, get that seatbelt on. In the first fight we got Maverick versus Cochiera. So give me your thoughts on this fight.
Yeah, I guess I'll start off. Miranda Maverick, her last fight wasn't too long ago.
Yeah, it was actually
It was
like
at UFC 289.
yeah, back in June. Yeah, less than 2 months.
Yeah, so yeah, not even 2 months ago, like a good month and a half ago. And she lost that fight to Jasmine Jasudavicius, which I don't really know what to think of that loss.
That was an interesting fight because it seemed like when something wasn't going Miranda Maverick's way, she never tried to make any sort of adjustments in the fight. It kind of
Yeah,
seemed like that she was just.
I didn't see a sense of urgency,
No, I didn't.
really.
But
But
her opponent on the other side has got a lot of power in those hands. I
mhm,
mean, like she swings for the fences.
like Miranda Maverick, she doesn't, at least in the UFC, I'm not sure about her earlier career, but in the UFC, she doesn't really have any bad losses. Like she went to a decision with Aaron Blanchfield, which is
That that
pretty,
loss kind of ages like
yeah,
wine, though, considering how good Aaron Blanchfield's doing these days.
exactly. So I like how she's getting back in here early. It's a little bit surprising, but I like how she's doing it for sure because she didn't really take any damage there against
No,
Jasudavicius. Took a little bit, but
well, every fighter
not
does
too
in every
too
fight, right? Like you're
mm,
gonna get punched in some way or another.
exactly.
Yeah,
But either way, I'll go with Miranda Maverick. I just think
yeah,
she's
I think so
more
as well.
skilled.
Her
Like,
opponent's a little bit too open, I think, at times. She kind of throws those big
mhm,
looping punches. And I think Miranda Maverick's going to be taking her down to the ground, and I think she's going to dominate her way to a decision.
I
I,
completely agree
I
with
don't
you.
think she's going to finish. I don't think she's going to finish Cachoeira.
I don't think so either. The only thing that scares me about Cachoeira is she's like huge and like
Oh yeah,
she looks like a man, to be completely honest.
she looks like
She
somebody who just got out of prison.
exactly.
Yeah, no,
But
I know what you mean, but
I do think Miranda Maverick's more talented,
oh, absolutely.
and
I just
but
hope
just like you
that
said,
the problem is though is after coming off a loss less than 2 months ago, I don't know if that's enough time to make those sort of adjustments in your game to when things are going wrong to be able to make that adjustment to win the
that's
fight.
very true. But this is also, in my opinion, definitely a step down in
It
competition.
is, yeah,
Not saying Cachoeira is bad. Like she's a good fighter, and she holds power. Like if she's gonna
absolutely.
win, it'll be
Oh,
by
oh,
knockout.
of course.
But it's kind of like picking Derek Lewis to beat a really skilled fighter. It
Mm-hmm.
happens. It happens sometimes, but it doesn't always happen.
Yeah,
So
no,
although I'm not saying Miranda Maverick is like the most skilled fighter in the division, it's just a reference. Like if she is gonna
no. I know
lose,
what you mean.
it's gonna
Yeah,
be because she got caught.
yeah. Miranda Maverick's most likely going to take down her opponent and
I
dominate.
agree.
Yeah. Moving
And
on to
then
the next
moving up,
fight. So we got Medic versus Semmelsberger. This is an interesting fight, actually, we got in our hands here. It's going to be a banger. I think it's going to go under the radar.
every Semmelsberger's fight's a
Oh,
banger in my opinion. Like
absolutely.
you gotta watch it. Semmelsberger, he kind of annoyed me in his last fight, partially because I picked him to win, and he showed a bit of an uneducated guard in my opinion.
Yeah.
He wasn't really throwing up submissions from bottom, nor was he really trying that hard to get up, I found.
No,
But he's still an entertainer. Like he
absolutely.
it was a great fight. He dropped Jeremiah Wells multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
What else was I gonna say? He had a close fight with Alex Morono,
Yeah.
which isn't a terrible loss, but even then in that third round, he hit him with a flying knee, almost got him out of there. So it's like Euros Medic, he might be maybe a little bit more skilled. I think Semmelsberger dominates in every other aspect. Like,
Yeah,
first of
for
all, he's going to be
sure.
bigger. He's the natural welterweight. Euros Medic is moving up here. And so
Absolutely.
Semmelsberger, he's going to be bigger. He's going to be stronger. I think he hits harder. And I think
Of
he's
course. Oh, yeah.
got the
Yeah.
dog in him that I don't think Medic has. I'm not saying Medic
Absolutely.
isn't a dog, but, like,
No, I get what you mean, though.
Semmelsberger is at that
Yeah,
higher level.
this fight's really gonna come down to who gets caught first. Medic is really fast with those hands. He's got a really good one too. That jab of his is phenomenal. and, the way he used that to try to set up that left hand. The thing that concerns me, though, is Medic will get caught at times. He will get caught at times, and it seems like he relies on his speed too much to get away with things.
Yeah, I completely agree there. So far, we're both 2 for 2.
We're 2 for 2. Don't worry, though. We're not just going to agree the entire video. I bet there's going to come 1 point. Where
for sure will.
There will. Don't you guys worry. But moving on to the next fight, we got CJ Vergara versus Vinicius Salvador.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I saw Vinicius, I'm not exactly sure to pronounce his name,
Yeah,
but I saw his UFC fight.
Yeah.
And I also saw his Contender Series fight.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. I don't know what to think about him. Because in the UFC,
weird.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was a split decision or a unanimous decision, but either way, he had a close fight with Victor Altamirano. He was a pretty decent fighter. And then on Dana White's Contender Series, he got a TKO in the second round against Shannon Ross. Which when I was watching that, I was like, I'm going to admit I was pretty impressed. But now seeing how Shannon Ross has done in the UFC, like he's 0-2 in the UFC. Both of them he's been knocked out in like under a minute. So now I don't know. Is it impressive? Like the fact that he brought him to the second round? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, Salvador's got that weird kind of style. He almost keeps his hands extremely wide when he fights. He doesn't really, he doesn't have a tight guard like most fighters or just regular low hands. He kind of keeps them out extremely wide, and a lot of the punches he throws are very looping. So I believe that if Vergara is able to catch him with a 1-2, I think that could spill the end of the night for Salvador, potentially.
I agree. I also think Vergara, like, we saw in his last fight against Daniel Lacerda, like, he is a dog. Like, he's not gonna... If you want to beat him, you have to either just completely outclass him by decision, or you really have to knock him straight the fuck out. Like, he's not gonna, like... He's not gonna get TKO'd.
No.
It's not gonna happen.
No,
you're gonna have to like make it so he doesn't know where he is, because
he can absolutely take it.
Oh yeah, he got knocked down like 4 times in that first round.
Yeah.
Came back in the second, TKO'd Lacerda.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it'll go a similar way, but to be honest, no matter how this fight goes, I think CJ Vergara is gonna make it a dogfight. I think that 100%. Like that's his game.
Yeah.
I think he'll win in the dogfight. He'll clip him in the third, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm thinking third round as well. Third rounder, maybe if Salvador's tough enough, he might be able to make his way to a decision. But I think Salvador is going to have some success in the early going, but as the fight goes on, Vergara is going to kind of start to pick him apart, because Vergara is really good with his body punches and kicks. And that could take a lot of air out of the gas out of Salvador.
Exactly.
So, I got Vergara.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. Vergara loses the first, but comes back, wins the second, probably finishes in the third, maybe wins a decision.
Yeah, I don't think either guy is going to be winning by way of submission in this fight. I don't really see it happening.
I don't either.
Nah, I think it's going to go to either decision, or Vergara's going to win by knockout.
I completely agree.
Next up, we got Jake Matthews versus Darius Flowers. Flowers making his UFC debut, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he is. He was on the Contender Series. I think it was a while ago. Like, I want to say it was like September, maybe.
I'm not too sure when it was. I can actually take a look at that really quickly. But if he's been out for a bit, then that could potentially change things. But
I mean, he's not old. He actually looks older than he is. He's only 28 years old. So I don't necessarily hate the fact that he took time off.
So his last fight was August 23rd, 2022.
Yeah, exactly. So almost a year ago. And that Contender Series fight, I actually remember it because the other guy was a pretty hyped up guy coming from Aljamain Sterling's camp and Merab Dvalishvili's camp.
Yeah.
And he won some sort of injury. I can't remember exactly.
He body slammed the guy. He hurt the guy's shoulder.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
My assessment of Darius Flowers looks like an interesting fighter as well, but he doesn't necessarily have the most amount of variety in his arsenal. He's really good with a big right hand. He's got a lot of power. He's kind of similar to what Tyron Woodley was back in the day, but not as skilled as Tyron Woodley.
Yeah. Honestly, I completely agree with that assessment. The thing is with Jake Matthews, he did show in his last fight. I don't think Jake Matthews has a chin problem. A lot of people I've seen saying that, and I completely disagree, despite he's been knocked down a few times in his last fight. What it did show me though was that he is there to be hit sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if Darius Flowers does find that right hand,
Oh
he
yeah,
definitely could finish it. And
yeah,
if I was just a bit more confident in the main card, to be honest, because the altitude on the main card is like
yeah. And
screwing me over a little bit.
the altitude is something that we completely forget about when we're making a prediction on this fight. Like it's something
Exactly.
that we really tend to overlook.
Mm.
And Jake Matthews is extremely fast. Those jabs of his, oh my lord, man! I was watching his fights yesterday. He's popping them out so fast I can't even see them.
Oh yeah, exactly. He's an incredible striker.
Oh, of
He
course he
is
is.
there to be caught, but like
He
he
is at times.
offensively and even like his defense isn't terrible. He gets caught, but it's not terrible. But what I was gonna say, like if I was a bit more confident in the main card, I'd maybe say fuck it and go with Darius Flowers catching him. But I don't really feel comfortable taking those types of risks
No, no,
considering
no.
there's so many close fights on this card.
Oh yeah,
So I am gonna go with Jake Matthews.
yeah.
I think he'll break him down and maybe TKO him in the second or third, kind of similar
Mm-hmm.
to what happened in his fight against Andre Fiallo.
Yeah, I
But
agree. I agree.
don't be surprised if Darius Flowers finds it.
I do think at some
Um,
point Darius Flowers might land some sort of shot because, like you said, Jake Matthews is there to be hit. He could potentially be clipped. I do see Jake Matthews picking him apart with the jab, picking him apart with the leg kicks, and as the fight progresses, I think Jake Matthews is gonna take out Flowers. I think Flowers is gonna run out of energy relatively quickly.
yeah,
I
I
think he could
agree.
gas out.
He's a pretty jack guy, so he
Yeah,
has a lot of
that could take an absolute toll on the gas tank.
oh, for sure.
So moving
Next
on,
up,
Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Ribeiro.
this is a weird one. Roman Kopylov in general is a weird case. His first two UFC fights, I think a lot of people were thinking like, oh, is this guy maybe overhyped? Because he came into
Mm,
the UFC 8-0, I believe,
yeah,
dropped his first two, but then he beat Alessio Di Chirico 2 fights ago, and then in his last fight, I think I remember he TKO'd Naheli Soriano.
yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
But those are, it's not like he's beating guys who are just outside the rankings, but they're decent wins.
they are decent wins.
Yeah. So he's definitely shown signs of improvement, and I'm gonna be honest, I am pretty impressed with him.
Yeah,
In terms of Claudio Ribeiro, he seems like, and I don't want to shit on him too much because
no.
like he, I honestly really like to watch him.
Oh yeah, entertaining all the way.
His fight against Abdulrazak Al Hassan, despite losing, it was entertaining. And his last fight against Joseph Holmes, it was entertaining. But I don't think he's really much more other than just a power puncher.
Yeah.
I think Kokulov's going to stay composed. And Ribeiro has been knocked out in his career. I
Mm-hmm.
think Kopylov will do the same thing. I think either in the second or third round,
Yeah.
going to be able to find it. It's not just going to be a one shot, but he'll TKO him with a nice combo, follow
Oh
up some
yeah.
damage.
Yeah, because
That's my idea.
Kopylov hasn't really shown that. He's not really a one-punch knockout artist in my eyes.
Hmm.
He's more of a combination puncher. He's really quick with the hands. He's got really good boxing for the most part. Ribeiro's biggest chance of winning this fight is to go to the leg kicks. I think
Yeah.
he has to chop with the legs. Because Ribeiro's shown like he will go to the legs inside and out.
Hmm.
Like Ribeiro.
He's like an athletic freak, so if he does hit you with a leg kick, with a
Mhm.
body shot, with any type of shot, it's gonna
Yeah.
hurt.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just I don't think he's gonna hit him a ton.
Yeah, and Kopylov has shown sometimes in the past where he will back up on a straight line and back up against the cage, and that could be dangerous coming up against a guy like Ribeiro who hits really hard with everything he throws. Ribeiro
It's
kind of
true, but
reminds me of like a less skilled version of Jose Aldo.
that's not a bad thing at all. I was gonna say he really reminds me. A lot of you guys might not know this guy. He's a light heavyweight contender. He's only had 2 fights himself. Like him and Vitor Petrino
Yeah,
are like the same guy to me. I don't know why.
I might have
I
something to
mean,
do. Is he Brazilian?
he is.
I'm trying to think. Like, all these Brazilian fighters, they might. If they're fighting in the same camp, I don't know if they are, but if they are fighting in the same camp, then you know,
I think of them so similarly. Like they're both
yeah,
very athletic guys. I do think Petrino's a bit better, but they're both very athletic guys. But back to the actual fights.
yeah.
Another thing that I need to think of in this fight, another reason I'm going with Kopylov, is again the altitude. Like if anyone's gonna gas, it's gonna be Ribeiro.
Absolutely. That those big muscles, they're gonna give out on you eventually, right? Throwing those big power bombs.
Exactly, and that's all he does. Throw power. He's very entertaining, but I don't see huge chance
I see
bet.
Kopylov popping with a jab a bunch and finishing him in the third or winning a decision.
Completely agree.
Absolutely. Next up, we got Trevin Giles versus Gabriel Bonfim. A lot of people are going to be sleeping on Trevin Giles in this fight.
Yeah, we're agreeing on everything here. Like,
I know, but it's gonna start
there
soon. It's gonna start soon.
yeah, there will be some disagreements.
There has
Trust
to be.
me.
There will be.
But
I think when it comes to the main card, especially. But if we're
mm,
looking at this fight here, a lot of people are gonna jump on the hype of Gabriel Bonfim because of his win at UFC 283. The thing was with that fight was Bonfim was leaving his chin so much in the air, man. Almost every single punch he threw was the left hook. The left hook's his money punch. And I went back and watched his Dana White Contender Series fight. He kind of does have a tendency of putting that chin up in the air a lot. And that could spell trouble against Trevin Giles, who is a really good one, too.
yeah, the thing is, like, Trevin Giles, his chin is also isn't like
That's true.
great,
Mm-hmm.
but it's decent. And I don't know much about Gabriel Monfilm's chin. I mean, if he's
No.
14-0, it seems it has to be decent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no matter how good your chin is, if you leave your chin up in the air and you get caught,
Yeah.
odds are you're going down.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is too, like Gabriel Bonfim, I know he found the finish fast, so it worked. But against a guy like Trevin Giles, I'm not the biggest fan. Maybe you'll have a different strategy for this fight.
Mm-hmm.
But in his last fight, like he came out so quick. I'm not the biggest fan of doing that against a guy like Trevin Giles
No.
and at an altitude of over 4,000 feet.
Yeah.
Like if I honestly, I know this is a long shot and Trevin Giles is a big underdog, but this is like my underdog pick of the card, I guess. Trevin Giles, I'm gonna go with him. I think Gabriel Bonfim honestly might drop him in the first, but I think Trevin Giles will recover. He'll stay in the fight, and then Gabriel Bonfim, like I said, he goes too fast. I
Mm-hmm.
think he's gonna gas. I rhymed, and then he's gonna just get clipped, keep getting clipped. I don't think Giles will finish him, but he'll
No, I
knock
don't
him
think so
down a few
either.
times, and then maybe not even knock him down, but he will wobble him a few times in the second and third round, and then eventually win a decision, 29-28.
Yeah, I can actually agree with that sentiment as well. I do think that Gabriel Bonfim, he started really fast in the last fight, and you cannot do that, especially at altitude. And against the guy who, has wins over guys like Ryan Spann and Roman Dolidze, like, I don't think that Gabriel Bonfim is going to bring anything to the table that Trevor Giles hasn't faced before. So, yeah, I think this is definitely the underdog pick of the card. Trevor Giles, by-way decision. Lock it in.
Another thing I completely forgot about. Trevin Giles, like even before the UFC, beat Ryan Spann,
Mm-hmm.
and no, I'm not mistaken, he also submitted Brendan Allen.
Yeah.
And then in the UFC, he gave Roman Dolidze his first loss. So like
Mm-hmm.
this guy isn't a slouch that they're giving to Bonfim. Like
Absolutely.
he's a good fighter.
Yeah, and Trevor Giles does have to be careful if he does decide to shoot for takedowns. Bonfim is very quick to jump on those submissions, and so I think Trevor Giles' best bet is to keep it on the feet and try to outbox him.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Okay, next fight here on the card.
Ooh.
So we actually accidentally skipped over the Marcus Rogero de Lima versus Derek Lewis fight. But it's okay. I wanted to save that till now, anyways, because these are the picks we're very confident on. So coming into this fight, we know that de Lima is the much more skilled fighter over Derek Lewis. Right, we know he's going to go in there. He's going to look to slam those leg kicks. He's going to look to outspeed Derek Lewis and outbox him for the most part. But could Derek Lewis potentially land that big right hand?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm like never count out Derek
And never
Lewis,
count
but
him
in
out.
my eyes, it's not a crazy smart bet to go with him, despite being the
It's not.
underdog. Like his cardio is already bad.
Mm-hmm.
Then his manager decided to fuck him over and book him a fight in Utah. No clue why he's doing that. I know he said like Derek Lewis after every single loss, especially on this losing streak, he's been like, "Oh well, trust me, I'm new and improved. I'll come back better." And I'm not seeing any improvements. I'm not seeing any sort of weight
Yeah.
loss or any sort of improved cardio. His cardio is already shit. Like it's already not very good. I love Derek Lewis, man. He's one of my favorite heavyweights ever. But the truth is, Marcos Rogerio de Lima might have the hardest leg kicks in the entire UFC.
They're very good.
Derek Lewis does not take those well. So
No, he
de Lima,
doesn't.
oh yeah, he does not take them good at all.
Oh,
So de
yeah.
Lima's 100% gonna chew up his leg, and Derek Lewis is gonna gas within like a minute or two. I honestly think you will. We saw how hard he gassed against Sergey Spivak in like 3.5 minutes just at Las Vegas.
Yeah.
This is in Utah. Like he's done for. He's gonna gas like a minute or two in, get his legs chewed up, and Derek Lewis, I don't want to say he quits, but in a sense he does. Like when he faces adversity, he crumbles
Hmm.
and he does kind of give up.
Yeah, I can agree with that sentiment as well. And we also completely forgetting about the fact that DeLima could absolutely just take this fight down to the ground and submit Derek Lewis like that.
Mm.
Submit him with a
They must
quickness.
submitted Andre Arlovsky, I believe. Like he has some pretty decent jiu-jitsu.
And I think that he could take down Derek Lewis and submit him. And that's going to be my pick in this one. I'm going to go with DeLima by first or second round submission.
I'm gonna go with DeLima by TKO in the first or second round. But I do not like dislike your pick at all. Like it a
Yeah,
hundred percent
no.
your submission, especially because Derek Lewis, he used to be able to just get up.
Yeah, he
And
didn't
now
even have BJJ. He
he
would just
doesn't do
stand
that
up.
anymore.
Yeah, no, you
Doesn't
can't
seem
do
like he
that.
can do that anymore though.
No, you cannot do that anymore. Even
He'll
though,
just get up and it's over.
and even though DeLima is part of Derek Lewis's generation, DeLima is much more skilled than Derek Lewis, in my
Mm.
opinion. And
I agree,
DeLima
and like
And DeLima also hasn't gotten knocked out a bunch in his career like a bunch of these other heavyweights have.
and also too like DeLima might not be the greatest heavyweight.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. Yeah,
It's a nightmare matchup for Derek
yeah,
Lewis.
absolutely.
Like in my opinion, Derek Lewis, I know this guy's cut from the UFC now, but he should have been booked to fight a guy like Augusto Sakai or
Hmm.
something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know why they're giving him DeLima. DeLima, I mean, again, don't count out Derek Lewis. He could find the right hand, but I
yeah.
truly don't see it happening. This is a nightmare matchup
It's
for him.
weird with Derek Lewis as well because Derek Lewis generally does better against wrestlers. We actually find, but against guys who can actually
Mhm.
strike, those are the guys he just doesn't seem to be able to really win.
Yeah, like he knocked out Curtis Blades, which is absolutely insane, and that wasn't even all that long ago. That was maybe what 2, 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, around two and a half years ago now. Yeah, that was a
Yeah,
while ago. And
it's
like,
like
and he caught Curtis Blake going to shoot a takedown.
exactly. But another thing too, if DeLima does want to take this to the ground, I don't think he's gonna shoot in open space. I think he'll clinch up, bring it to the cage, and look for some sort of trip.
Yeah, because you gotta be very careful shooting on Derek Lewis. He will time an uppercut.
Yeah,
There's, I think Derek Lewis does have very underrated timing.
he does, but it's like Derek Lewis doesn't seem to have many aspects. Like I
No,
know
right
everyone he
hand.
fights is always more skilled than him.
Hmm.
He's won 26 times. Like it's worked for him in the past, but it's stopping to work for him now. Like it's
Yeah,
not working anymore.
and I think this could be the fight that sends him into retirement potentially.
If he loses, I hope it does.
I
Obviously, I'm
like,
never going to cheer against Derek
yeah,
Lewis.
no,
Like
we
in this
all love
fight,
Derek Lewis, but
in this fight, I'm going to cheer for him, and I hope he wins. But if he loses, again, unless they
yeah,
give him a guy like Augusto Sakai, who I'm not even sure is in the UFC anymore,
I'm not
then
sure. I
I don't
don't
want
think
to see him
so, but
fight anymore.
yeah, just give him like some old legend. Give him Andre Arlovsky. Give him some older guy, and let Derek Lewis ride out his career on a win, or just cut him after this fight if he loses.
Yeah.
But we cannot ever count on that right-handed Derek Lewis.
It could land, but
Absolutely can, but we're not going to count on it happening.
yeah.
So we're going to move on here, and we're moving on to the main card, and like this is where things could start to get very tricky. I was saying to you earlier that my picks, I've already locked them all in, and I'm pretty confident in most of these ones.
I'm gonna be honest. My most confident picks were actually the opposite. I'm most confident in the preliminary card and the early preliminary card, but
Yeah, because generally speaking, the early prelims and the prelims are easier to pick on.
but it's like the main card. Again, if it wasn't for the altitude, I think I'd be a little more confident. But the altitude definitely is gonna play a huge role in this fight, or all these fights. I meant to say.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to start off with the first fight on the main card, and we got Kevin Holland versus Michael Chiesa. It seems like a lot of people are really going with Kevin Holland in this fight.
I am gonna go with Kevin Holland. Like I'm gonna agree with the majority. Again, like if you pick Michael Chiesa, it's not a dumb pick at all, especially since he is an underdog. I don't even think he's that big of an
He
underdog.
plus 125.
It's 125, but it's like he still is an underdog, so it's not even a horrible idea to even put money on him. Like if If he gets the takedown, he could very easily submit Kevin Holland.
Yeah, I actually am going Michael Chiesa this fight. We got our first
Yeah, the
disagreement
first
on the card,
disagree.
but the reason why I'm going Michael Chiesa is because I don't think that Kevin Holland's takedown defense has actually improved all that much to stop a guy like Michael Chiesa's takedowns, where I believe Michael Chiesa is bigger and stronger and might be able to overpower Kevin Holland. My biggest concern, though, is if it goes into like the third round and Chiesa does have a tendency to gas out, and that's like that's even when we're not talking about altitude involved.
Yeah.
So Chiesa's biggest weakness is going to be his cardio in this fight. So if he gasses out by the third round, Kevin Holland could knock him out.
Yeah, I actually have a really, really weird prediction for this fight. I think Chiesa is the far better grappler, but I'm going with Kevin Holland by submission.
And that's not a bad pick, actually, because Michael Chiesa's one of his biggest weaknesses is his defensive grappling.
Exactly. He's very, very good offensively, but his
Yeah.
defensive grappling isn't great. So what I think is going to happen is Chiesa is going to gas out, maybe in the second round now about the altitude, but most likely the third round. And I think while he's gassed, Kevin Holland's going to knock him down. I think after he knocks him down, Chiesa's going to do his little like panic shoot thing that he sometimes does and gets caught in a darce, just like
It
almost
could
every other
happen.
loss he's ever had.
Yeah, because Kevin Holland is a black belt, right? Like we can't just look over that fact. You know, he is a very good grappler in his own right. And I think a lot of people do overlook that. But the thing I will also say is Kevin Holland isn't the most polished striker in the world. And people are going to say this is a striker versus grappler matchup. That's not entirely true here. Because Kevin Holland's not the most polished striker. He really lunges in with his punches and overextends a lot of times. And isn't the most precise with his shots a lot of times. He hits hard, but he's not necessarily the most precise with his shots and doesn't throw the most amount of combinations or anything. So I don't think the striking's actually to be as threatening to Chiesa as people believe.
Yeah, you're honestly completely right there. Like he's like a kung fu guy almost, which almost never works
I
in
think
MMA.
that was his original background, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was kung fu, I believe, and that almost never works in MMA. But
No.
he has found a way to make it work.
He has.
And although you are completely right, he isn't the most polished striker. Michael Chiesa is
He's not a very polished striker
He's
either,
pretty
right? Like,
good.
let's just be honest. Let's call a spade a spade. He's not the most polished striker in the world himself. I think my prediction is Michael Chiesa by way of decision. He's going to squeak out a decision. I think he's going to win the first two rounds, gas out, and I think he's going to get dominated in the third.
No, I was actually thinking something similar to that. The problem is, if it's a close fight, we're not giving it to Chiesa.
You don't think so?
I don't think the UFC, I don't think the UFC rigs their fights, but I do think that maybe they tell the judges, if it's a close fight, give it to this guy.
The thing that goes with that
Something
theory
like
is
that.
how many robberies have there been in the last year?
Well, there's robbery every single damn card.
And I do think the word robbery does get overused. I don't like the term robbery a whole lot, but I also do agree that there are some fights that was a robbery. One of the biggest ones, Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon, right? That's just a prime example. Robberies have been getting thrown all over the place in the last year.
Hmm. In my eyes, like I know everyone has a different definition of a robbery. To me, I hate it when people say close fights aren't robberies.
Yeah, not
In my
every close fight
opinion,
is a robbery, but there are some that are.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if it's a close fight, but there's still a winner that 95% of the world agrees on, then
You
it's
could
a
classify it as a
robbery.
robbery. Yeah.
But if it's a close, like that's why I honestly consider Piotr Jan versus Sean O'Malley a robbery.
Yeah,
Because
I can
I know
agree
we're
with
not
that.
trying to get into this like whole discussion right now. It's obviously a picks video, but just like really quickly, like I'm just gonna go over it. 85% of the world believes that Piotr Jan won that fight. Yes, it was very close, but it's not like it could have gone either way.
But let's be
Almost
honest.
everyone
Pewdion
thinks
won those
that
first
Piotr
two
Jan won.
rounds. Pewdion won the first
Exactly.
two rounds, yeah, for sure.
Like that's my definition of a robbery. And I
Yeah.
in this fight, if it is close, I think they're definitely gonna give it to Kevin Holland.
But this fight could be one of those fights where I mean, it could potentially end in a draw. Let's not overlook that fact. That third
Yeah,
round could be a 10-8. Chiesa survives, and it could be a draw. But this fight, I have a feeling it's going to be the fight that people scream robbery.
very well could.
It very well could. That
Very.
could be the fight. It has that feeling to it. But we're going to move on. I mean, as our first disagreement, we'll see how many we get by the end of this video. We only got 4 more fights left. 4 more fights on this card.
Yeah.
Steve Wonderboy Thompson versus Michelle Pereira.
Okay, this one's very interesting. Like I love that they made this fight. First of all,
Yeah, especially for Wonder Boy at this point of his career.
hmm, like I don't want to see. I know there was talks of like Wonder Boy versus Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Nah, I don't
Oh
want to see
no,
that. No,
this
Shavkat will
was
just
the
dominate
fight.
the grappling.
Exactly. This was the fight to make. It's an interesting one. Michel Pereira, he has that capoeira. He's he does like backflips on his opponents. He
Yeah.
does all this weird stuff. Stephen Thompson's a very good striker himself. But as in terms of my picks, I'm not gonna say why yet because I'm also gonna let you talk here. But I will explain why later on. I'm gonna go with Stephen Thompson.
I
Just want to hear your
agree.
opinion
I
on
agree. I'm
that.
going with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in this one. The reason being is because Michelle Pereira's going to gas out after one round. He has such a big weight cut for one. I mean, that's going to take a toll on anybody. But then you also have to consider, like, Michelle Pereira, he is wild, but I think he's kind of pulled that back a little bit. Like, he's not as wild as he used to be. But his cardio just does not hold up, generally speaking. I think Wonderboy's going to pick him apart in the second and third rounds. But Michelle Pereira's going to have a storm coming Wonderboy's way in that first round.
I completely agree. Like the thing is, Stephen Thompson. I've seen mixed debates on this. I've seen some people say, "Oh yeah, he's one of the best strikers in the UFC," and I've seen some other people say he's old and he's not one of the best strikers in the UFC anymore. And to be honest, I can see both sides of the argument, but in my opinion, after that Kevin Holland fight, he just proved that he is.
He absolutely is one of the
But
best strikers in the UFC. People who say he's too old are the people that watched his Gilbert Burns and Bilal Muhammad fight and saw him get out grappled for 3 rounds. But when you take a look at that Kevin Holland fight, his speed is still there at the age of 40. How often do you see that? His kicks were on point, his punches were on point. Everything he did was on point for a regular Stephen Wonderboy Thompson performance.
the one thing that I was gonna say though that does scare me is like he beat the brakes off of Kevin Holland,
Mm-hmm.
but he was still dropped like 2 or 3 times in that fight,
He got
if I
caught.
remember correctly.
I remember he got
Like,
caught heavily in that first round. I don't know if I ever remember him getting dropped, but I remember him getting caught by that right hand in the
hmm,
first. And the thing is with Wonderboy, he does have very good striking defense, right? He really relies on that, on that distance management. But if you're able to find your way inside, he might not be able to get away in time. He relies on speed sometimes a bit too much.
hmm.
When Wonderboy gets caught, he gets caught hard.
That's what scares me. If Michelle Pereira hits hard. I know Kevin Holland does too, but
It's a different
just
thing with
look at the
Pereira.
size of the guy. Like Michelle Pereira hits
All the
harder.
Pereiras hit hard. Michelle Pereira, Alex Pereira, all the
Yeah.
Pereiras hit hard.
That's the thing. Like I'm gonna go with Stephen Thompson anyway. I think by
Absolutely.
decision, just like you said, Michelle's gonna gas after the first, and then Stephen will win the second and third.
Mm-hmm.
But was I going with this? But okay, yeah. If Michelle Pereira does catch him the first round, I believe he will, and I believe there is a chance that he puts him away.
I think at this point, Wonderboy is too much of a seasoned veteran to get knocked out by a guy like Michelle Pereira, in my opinion.
Hmm.
But
I think he'll get
the
dropped.
wildness could catch him off guard, absolutely. And I'm gonna go with Wonderboy by way of third round knockout. I
I
think he can
like it.
finish him late. I think he can finish him late. But I mean, going with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson by decision, that's not a bad pick either. I just think Pereira's gonna be he's gonna be gassy. He's not gonna be able to take anymore. I think Wonderboy's gonna drill him with body kicks.
Such a hard one because I love both these guys. I know Stephen Thompson's the fan favorite, and I probably will
Absolutely
end up
is.
cheering for him by time of the fight anyway.
Oh yeah, I'll be nervous when the fight starts.
Yeah,
That
but
first round,
Michelle
anything can
Pereira is
happen.
underappreciated.
He is
Really is.
underappreciated. He doesn't have boring fights.
It's never happened.
No, it
Ever.
hasn't. Wonder Boy's been in a couple, but that's because with Wonder Boy he's trying to have a chess match. He's not
Hmm.
like it's just how Wonder Boy fights with that karate style. But unless Wonder Boy aged overnight, I'm going with him by way of third round knockout.
Going with him by decision, but either way, we both got Wonder Boy in this
Yeah, we got
fight.
Wonder
Now,
Boy. We got Wonder Boy winning. Now
oh, man.
we're gonna move on to the next one. This one's gonna be a hard one to talk about, but we got Bobby Green versus Tony Ferguson.
Oh, I completely forgot about this one. I was about to go to the co-main, but yes, I
Don't skip
completely
over
forgot.
Tony's fight, man. You cannot
Tony
skip over Tony.
Ferguson, Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green,
Yeah.
and like I want to say, like every biased fan wants to say Tony Ferguson, but obviously with my name MMA Unbiased, I can't do that.
You could, but you probably would get a lot of crap for
And
it,
I
right?
think the logical pick sad to say, it's Bobby Green. Now, please, Tony Ferguson,
Yeah.
please find a way to win. We all want you to win.
Hmm.
We all want it to happen.
Hmm.
But realistically, this is not a good stylistic matchup for him.
Even a prime Tony Ferguson would have problems. I
Mm,
think a prime Tony does beat Bobby Green, but
for
it
sure,
would
but he
have
would have problems.
issues. Tony Ferguson's biggest chance to victory is using his cardio as a weapon. He's gonna have to put the pressure on Bobby Green. He's gonna have to throw a lot of body shots in the early going, throw leg kicks to slow down the movement of Bobby Green, to take some of the slap off his punches. But the thing is, Bobby Green's not like a one punch knockout artist. I don't see him like just dropping Tony and finishing him off with strikes. Tony's chin hasn't completely gone out the window yet, right? Anyone would have got knocked out by that front kick against Michael Chandler. And when you take a look, he took some shots from Nate Diaz, who doesn't hit hardest, but Tony was able to take them. And I do think he will survive against Bobby Green.
I've seen people saying Bobby Green by knockout. Like I've seen TikToks of like sad edits, and they're like realizing Tony's gonna get KO'd. Not gonna get KO'd,
I
but
don't
he
think
will be
so.
outclassed.
I do think if Tony could weather that first round, I can see where he starts to turn it on a little bit, but I don't see him winning the fight. I think Bobby Green will win the second fight, also second round, also slightly, but Tony could win the third. That's not out of the question.
Yeah, it definitely isn't. Like I want Tony to win this fight so bad.
Oh yeah.
Any MMA fan in the world, if you're cheering against Tony Ferguson in this fight, like,
Get
are you
out.
even
Get
really
out.
an MMA
Yeah, get
fan?
out. We don't want you.
Tony Ferguson,
I mean,
for hardcore MMA fans, it's kind of like they're Conor McGregor, like the casuals. Like everyone, every hardcore MMA fan loves Tony Ferguson.
absolutely.
Fan favorite.
And the one thing that would also help Tony Ferguson, and he needs to do this early, we need to see him shoot some takedowns. Bobby Green is
Yeah,
not the
even
kind of
like
grappler who's going to threaten with a bunch of submissions.
even like try his Imanari roll. I'm not saying it's definitely gonna work, but
Probably
test it
not.
out, mix it up,
Yeah,
try different
absolutely.
things. Don't headhunt.
Absolutely.
Mix
No,
in some sort of grappling, mix in some sort of body shots, some sort of leg kicks.
yeah, I want to see leg kicks, I want to see body shots, and I want to see takedowns. Those are the three biggest necessary things for Tony Ferguson to win this fight. For Bobby Green, he just needs to stick and move from a distance. And one thing I wish Tony Ferguson would use more to his advantage is his reach. He's got such a long reach for the division, but it doesn't seem like he ever tries to use that reach.
What is his reach?
He's got like 77 inches. Bobby Green's 71, 71 and a half.
I knew he had a long reach, but I didn't even realize it was that
Yeah,
long.
it's very long. If Tony was to use that,
That's like insanely
that
long arms. There's people who are like 6'3" who don't even have that.
yeah, and people have said that Tony Ferguson's hands are so big, so maybe if Tony's able to switch stances, play the hand fighting game, try to, land some left strikes down the pipe. Because Tony Ferguson's power, I believe, is extremely underrated.
Problem with this though is, although we're saying we're all putting out the way that Tony Ferguson should win, we're kind of ignoring the fact that Bobby Green is gonna win.
Hey. There's upsets that have happened, man, okay? We can
Big
dream. We
upset.
can manifest Tony Ferguson's
I
win.
am dreaming. I'm dreaming. I'm praying. But realistically, like Bobby Green, I don't want to sound like an MMA guru copy here, so I am gonna give him credit and say, like I referenced it, I heard this from him, but it did make me realize hearing this that when Bobby Green loses, it's because the other fighter makes him go first. Bobby Green doesn't do good when he has to strike first. He's a good counter
Yeah,
fighter.
very good
But if you're
defense.
patient, he's not that patient to be honest. So if you're patient against Bobby Green, you will make him strike first, and that's the way to beat him. But with Tony Ferguson's style,
He's not going to
that's
do that. Tony Ferguson
not
doesn't show no
gonna
patience.
happen.
He walks right into the fire.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to go with Bobby Green. I'm gonna go by way of decision. I don't think he knocks out Tony. But if he
Yeah.
does, it'll be from. If he does knock him out, it's gonna be from like a combination of punches. It's not gonna be like from one big punch.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bobby Green 29-28.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think Tony will win the third round. But you never know. What if Tony comes back rejuvenated? I'm just saying, if he comes back rejuvenated, looks better than ever.
Fighting
Then...
the title. He's just in his prime now.
Yeah, he's just in his prime now, and he's gonna win 5 fights and then win the title. If anyone was gonna do that, it would be Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
It would be Tony, but I think he's just too weathered, too much damage for that. But that's a topic for another day. We gotta move on. Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira, our co-main event. Alex Pereira moving up from the middleweight division. The former middleweight champ, gonna be taking on Jan Blachowicz. And this is an interesting fight, right? I mean, Jan Blachowicz has a style to beat Pereira, but with Pereira moving up, who knows what that could look like.
Might be my favorite fight on the card, and it also might be the fight that I'm most 50-50 on the card.
Yeah, I can understand why people would be so 50-50 on this fight as well. And, Jan Blachowicz was saying he's going to strike with Pereira to try to prove the point. If that's what happens, Pereira's going to win that 100%.
That's what I'm saying. I'm honestly, gonna lean. I'm gonna lean towards Alex Pereira. I'm gonna do it. Like I know, Jan Blachowicz has definitely been working on this. Like he knows that the left hook is Pereira's
That's his
thing, and
punch.
when you look at Jan Blachowicz's fights, when he gets caught, a lot of the times it's with that left hook.
Yeah, look at
Now,
his fight
Pereira,
against Thiago Santos.
if he catches you with the left hook, you're not going down, you're going
You're
out.
dead. You are dead. You are no longer living. Ask Sean Strickland.
Sean Strickland said it best. Sean Strickland said it's not even during their fight. Like they had a sparring session together where they were both going light, and when Alex Pereira touches you, you just die.
Yeah, that's what Sean Strickland says. You just die. Like, you just
Yeah,
get
you
touched and you
literally.
just die once every round. Once every round it happens. But
Even
and
Israel Adesanya, who I was thinking would be on Jan Blachowicz's side, even though he kind of settled the beef in that whole airport video thing with Alex Pereira, I still thought he would be on Jan Blachowicz's side and he would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna take Jan Blachowicz," because they were always friendly before the fight, after the fight, during the fight. But Israel Adesanya said that he's picking Alex Pereira, and I know that he's not like an MMA expert. Not saying that I am by any means either, but I know Israel Adesanya isn't an MMA expert, but he's fought both these guys.
it's
He's
what
felt them
Sonya is.
both,
Yeah,
and he feels as though Alex Pereira is the better fighter. And he said too, I've seen a power debate going on, and I know Jan Blachowicz definitely hits hard, but Israel Adesanya said it too. I don't think it's much of a debate. I think Alex definitely hits harder.
yeah. I'm gonna play a little bit of devil's advocate for this one, right? I'm not saying that Pereira doesn't hit harder, but I don't think that Israel Adesanya got hit clean by Blachowicz the way Pereira was able to hit Izzy.
That is a fair point as well.
That is like I'm not saying that Pereira doesn't hit harder. I'm sure he does, but if you were gonna play devil's advocate, that could be a potential argument you could see there. In this fight, it's going to come down to can Blachowicz take down Alex Pereira. If that's going to happen, it's going to happen in open space because I think Pereira will have a similar issue to what Izzy does. And in open space, the wrestling becomes much more easy to get if you're a guy like Jan Blachowicz. And as well as the grappling capabilities, I'm actually going with Jan Blachowicz in this fight.
I don't hate it. Like I said, like I'm 50-50 on this fight. We are going to have a slight disagreement here.
Yeah,
You're
I
leaning
think.
towards Jan, I'm
Yeah.
leaning towards Pereira.
All right.
I do think Pereira will get out wrestled in that first
He will.
round.
He will.
Jan Blachowicz doesn't really have like crazy submission threats. I don't
No,
think
he
he's
doesn't.
gonna
I
finish
don't think
him.
he's gonna submit Pereira. See, this fight's gonna go one of two ways. Pereira's gonna knock him out, or Blachowicz is gonna win by decision. All right,
Here's the thing, I know
Blachowicz could
the
win by knockout
altitude.
too, though.
I know that altitude is like a crazy thing on this card, and it
No.
definitely is. We've talked about it many times in this video.
Yes.
I honestly see this fight being a slower paced fight, not a boring fight. It'll be a
No.
fun fight, but I think it'll be more of a chess match. Like I think when it's on the feet, Pereira will be picking his shots, looking for that specific shot, and Blachowicz will be looking to set up shots that don't put him in danger, where he can maybe set up the takedowns. Like I think Blachowicz is going to be playing it safe, and Pereira is going to be not necessarily playing it safe, but playing it patient.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that at some point across 15 minutes, I think it's inevitable that Pereira will catch him
I do think Pereira
somehow.
will land a punch at some point. We're gonna find out if Jan Blachowicz is the one to take the shot. What I will say is, I do think that Alex Pereira is going to be the one who's the aggressor of this fight. Jan Blachowicz is going to be the guy who's backing up, playing counter striker, because that's kind of similar to what Izzy versus Blachowicz was. And I think that we're going to see a similar scenario in this fight here. I think that Blachowicz is going to eventually time a takedown if Pereira doesn't catch up with a knee or something like that. And I think that Blachowicz is going to like dominate on top for the most part and win 30-27.
I agree with what you said, that in that Blachowicz will be the counter striker,
He absolutely will, yeah.
but I don't honestly like. I don't love that for him. Like, in my
No.
opinion, Alex Pereira is better when he goes first. In
Yeah,
my
he's much more
opinion,
scary, right? He's much more
hmm,
ferocious and on the
exactly.
kill. Yeah,
In
I
my
agree.
opinion, although it worked against Izzy, it is harder to shoot takedowns off your back foot.
It is. It is. You need to be the one pressuring forward, and that is true as well. And Blahovic is at his weakest when he is pressuring forward, though. When he is the one who goes first and blitzes in, that's when he gets caught by the left hook. So I think Blahovic knows that, and so he needs to not blitz in. He kind of has to be almost at a standstill in a way, kind of be standing there minding his distance and try to shoot a takedown underneath the left hook of Alex Pereira. That's gonna be the way he's gonna have to get him down.
Blowich will get him down at some
He
point, but
will.
I don't think he'll finish him, and
No, I don't either.
maybe at some point in the second or third. I don't think either of them are gonna gas because like I said, it will be not a.
I think they might
It'll
though.
definitely be a boring fight. It'll be exciting, but it'll be slower paced.
They might though. If there's a lot of
Um,
grappling involved, they might gas.
it might.
And we also need to consider that Alex Pereira did just get knocked out 3 months ago, right? Like that's not something we're gonna forget.
It's never good to come back after 3 months. That's the part that scares me. I've seen a lot of people saying Alex Pereira has a suspicious chin. I don't think he's
I don't think that's
shown
true.
anything yet. Yeah, I don't think he's shown anything yet to show why he would have a suspicious chin. Like, the truth is, he was getting really cocky against Izzy,
Yeah,
and then Izzy caught him clean
yeah,
being.
that's absolutely true.
Izzy caught him
That
clean being stupid.
that's one of the two factors, right? Like Pereira kind of comes in, he goes in for the kill, and he gets so reckless that he kind of forgets about defense, and he gets caught clean twice by overhand rights. He took the first overhand right. He might have been out on his feet by that punch. We don't know, but then he got clipped again and knocked out, as well as that weight cut to 185 absolutely plays a factor on your chin. There's no way you're gonna be able to just take that punch with that massive weight cut and be perfectly okay. And I think with Alex Pereira cutting down to 205, it's gonna refresh his chin even a little bit.
The second factor I was gonna say is that when he was cutting to 185, he was cutting from like 225 pounds.
Yeah.
Something crazy like that. Might have even been 230 pounds.
Yeah, it was
So
something crazy.
I don't think his chin is bad.
No, I don't think so either.
But no matter how good, how average, how bad your chin is,
Mm.
never great to come back after 3.5 months.
Yeah, and we talk about Jan Blachowicz' lack of defense, but Alex Pereira, for as good of a kickboxer as he is, also does have problems with defense of his own.
Hmm.
Like, at times he
Yeah.
will keep his hands down and he'll kind of just throw his shots, like the way he got caught against Izzy. He was just throwing his shots and didn't even consider defense at any point.
Hmm. Like I said, like this is a very 50-50 fight, in my opinion. I'm leaning towards Alex just because I think the finishing potential is there more for him. And
Yeah.
I do believe that he will finish him. But like this is such a close fight. I saw some people saying that they wanted Alex Pereira versus Johnny Walker when he announced his move up, but like in my opinion, this was the perfect fight to make for him. This is the exciting fight in my opinion. It's so
Yeah.
50-50 to me. Like this is a treat. This is my favorite fight on the card.
Yeah, this is a very good fight, and it's not a coincidence that Alex Pereira's fighting Jan Blachowicz, the one other guy to defeat Israel Adesanya in the octagon.
He's watching his two dads fight. Uh-oh.
Oh no. Oh no, they're gonna come after you for that
No.
one. The Izzy fanboys will come after you.
No.
But we're gonna move on here. We got the main event to talk about. This could be a bit of a lengthy talk here, but Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje, a 5-rounder for the BMF lightweight strap, and Dustin Poirier coming to this fight as a slight favorite. Winning the first fight, and both guys have massively improved since that first fight. So I actually took a look. Their first fight was only oh so slightly above elevation. I took a look at the arena. It was 150 meters above elevation in their first fight. This fight's gonna be 1,300 meters above elevation. So it's gonna be a much different fight going into this one. So let's get into this one.
I am like again, I know I said the last fight was 50-50 and I'm saying this about a lot of fights. This is another really close one. Like I've done a decent amount of research for it and I am gonna go with Justin Gaethje. But it is still a pretty close fight. Like people their last fight was at elevation too, which a lot of people are ignoring.
It was only a oh so slight elevation though. It was only 150 meters
Yeah.
above sea. This one's 1,300 meters. So it does change the dynamic a little bit.
But like I said, at this point, I think Gaethje definitely has better cardio.
You think so?
And yeah, he's training at
Yeah.
5,000 something feet of elevation.
Yeah, He trains at like 1,500 meters, I believe it is. I don't know what the conversion is. I think it's like 4,000 feet above elevation. This fight's like 3,000 feet
Check
above
that very,
elevation. I
very.
don't know the exact conversion, but we use meters. We use meters. But when you're
Yeah,
talking
we use
about
meters in Canada.
we use meters here in Canada, but in America it's like 4,000 feet where Justin Gaethje trains, and I believe it's like 3,000 something where they're fighting in Utah.
With an average altitude of about 6,800 feet above sea level. I don't think that's right.
No,
But
but I think that Gaethje does train at a higher altitude than what this fight's taking place at, and that is going to favor Justin Gaethje. However, Dustin Poirier has shown very good cardio in his own right, and I think he will be able to keep up with Justin Gaethje at least for the first 2 to 3 rounds. He will be able to, and Justin Gaethje nowadays he's a much more patient fighter. He will back up at times now. He will use his footwork. He will fight from a distance, but there are some things that Justin Gaethje still does even from what he did in the first fight against Poirier. For example, the shelling up. Gaethje does this a lot. He'll shell up like this, and that leaves his body open. So I think Poirier's going to rip a lot of body shots in this fight.
yeah, that is the way to beat Gaethje, is
Mm-hmm.
to beat him by using body shots. We saw Poirier do it in the first fight, and we saw Eddie Alvarez do it, but he has learned from that. Like, people need to realize Justin Gaethje is not the same fighter from what he was in that first Poirier fight and in that Alvarez fight back in like
He's not the same as back
2018.
then, but he was doing this against Fiziev as well, and that is a bit worrisome for me.
He was, but not nearly as much, and he's not nearly as reckless. Like, he
He's
seemed
not.
composed.
Yeah, he's definitely a lot more composed nowadays under the fire. Both these guys have shown pretty decent chins. I think Gaethje does have the better chin out of the two, personally. Dustin Poirier doesn't have the best chin. He's got a good chin, but I think it's only above average also slightly. I think he's got much more heart and grit to take a punch than he does to actually like take the punch itself.
Yeah, Justin Gaethje, like, he does get wobbled.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. I know Poirier, like, if anything, Poirier honestly gets wobbled less.
Yeah,
I think that might be more because of his defense.
I think Poirier
And the
does have better
fact of the
defense.
matter is, in the third, fourth, fifth round, I honestly believe like this fight is gonna turn into a barn burner, especially in the third, fourth, and fifth round. I think both of them, like, they're not gonna swing like idiots, but they're
No.
not gonna be extremely focused on their defense. They're both gonna be clipping each other. And in that sense, I do think Gaethje's durability is a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree with that
And
sentiment.
not to mention that in those third, fourth, fifth rounds, when this does turn into Justin Gaethje's style of fight, into that dogfight type of fight, Gaethje's going to be the fresher guy.
Unless Poirier rips the body early and often, right? That's going to be his one way to drain the gas tank. And
I think Gaethje can expect that since it's been everyone's strategy
yeah,
against him. If he
maybe that's
doesn't
true.
make that mistake, that's completely on him and Trevor Whitman, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that Justin Gaethje's still going to try to throw out a lot of leg kicks because that's Gaethje's way of entering distance a lot of times is to throw those leg kicks. But that leg kick was the reason why Poirier was able to catch him and finish him in the first fight. Time that inside leg kick so he could just throw that left straight off of it, catch Gaethje and knock him out.
You are right there, but like this being a rematch, in my opinion, really, really helps out Gaethje. Like, if this was their first ever fight, I truly believe that Dustin Poirier would win. But since it is their second fight, Gaethje has so much to learn from there. Like, Poirier hasn't, in my opinion, he hasn't really changed since that fight. He's
No,
been the same fighter for so long, whereas Gaethje has changed, and I think he will make those adjustments. And if he can just defend those leg kicks, land leg kicks of his own, defend those body shots, maybe even land body shots of his own, like we saw Charles Oliveira against both of these guys, to be honest, had success, but against Dustin Poirier had success with those knees to the body.
yes, he did.
And if Justin Gaethje can
Mm-hmm.
use some of those knees to the body, maybe he can use a left hook to the body, just any type of body shot. He could use that himself because I don't think Poirier is going to be expecting that. But
No,
the
he
thing is,
won't.
Gaethje is going to be expecting that from Poirier. So
Yeah.
he's definitely putting time in his camp to learn how to defend those things.
Yeah, I can agree with that sentiment as well. The thing is, though, we know Justin Gaethje doesn't really go for body shots. We know his body shots are the
Probably
leg
pretty
kicks.
good.
He could, but his body shots are the leg kicks. That's
Yeah.
Gaethje's body shots. And I believe that Dustin Poirier is also just a much more clean and efficient boxer. Like, he's so much more clean. He's got better overall boxing technique, cleaner technique in his punches, more variety in his punches, and he'll go for more long extended combinations, whereas a lot of times Justin Gaethje's boxing consists of ducking his head a lot and throwing big overhand rights and big left hooks. That's the biggest part of Justin Gaethje's game. But he did show a good jab against Rafael Fiziev, and I want to see him use that here against Dustin.
Like I said earlier on, obviously I completely agree with that assessment. Like I said earlier on, I believe this fight will turn into a barn burner, and Dustin Poirier is gonna let that go anyway. We saw it happen for a few moments in that Chandler fight. Like, he was against the fence. I think Gaethje could get him against the fence, land his shots, just like Chandler was doing. If it does go deeper on into this fight and it does become a war, I know Poirier's defense is better and he isn't there to get hit as much. He is more of a crisp boxer. In that style of fight, I think Gaethje will be able to hit him more, and I think he'll be able to hit him harder. Poirier is much better technically. The thing is, Poirier has almost got a little bit too much of that dog in him. Like, he's always down a hard scrap, which I think will hurt him in this fight.
Yeah, and I think that Dustin Poirier, over the recent years, I think Poirier's been in more scraps than Justin Gaethje has. Justin Gaethje's always in a scrap, but over the last few years, it seems like Poirier's actually been in more wars that might have taken a toll than what Justin Gaethje has gone through. Like, obviously, yes, they both fought Michael Chandler, and they were both in absolute wars. Justin Gaethje got clipped by Charles Oliveira and dropped. He was getting hit a lot by Rafael Fiziev. But Dustin Poirier went through that war with Dan Hooker. He got clipped multiple times by Conor McGregor in those two fights. He got punched a lot by Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. I just think that Poirier's been through more damage in the last couple of years.
Yeah, he definitely has, and that's honestly the reason I'm going with Justin Gaethje. Like I said, Poirier is never a guy you can count out.
No, he's not.
This is a close fight. If Poirier wins, I will be nowhere near surprised. But I think that the style of fight it's going to turn out to be just ever so slightly favors Justin Gaethje, especially at this point in their careers.
And the big thing that I think that favors Justin Gaethje as well is the footwork, actually, which I never would have said that a few years ago. But Justin Gaethje now has shown much better footwork than Dustin Poirier does. Dustin's not the biggest mover. He doesn't really bounce on his toes a lot. He's kind of walking a lot more times than he is bouncing around. Justin Gaethje's doing a much better job nowadays of bouncing on those feet, trying to move off on angles, and that could give Dustin Poirier issues. Absolutely. And the one thing we're absolutely forgetting about is, what if Justin Gaethje decides to wrestle in this fight a little bit?
He could. And you know what's weird? I'm not saying, obviously, that Justin Gaethje is going to submit Dustin Poirier.
No, that would
I would never say that. But the truth is, I know Dustin Poirier is the far better grappler overall. His grappling defense is still not that good.
It's not, especially...
If Gaethje takes him down, it's not like Poirier is going to sub him with some triangle from the bottom.
No, I don't see that happening. What I do see happening, Dustin Poirier has not shown the greatest takedown defense. In a lot of fights, he has shown that he will get taken down. And I think that Justin Gaethje is a very good wrestler. He's got very good takedown offense. He may not believe he has the best takedown offense, but he does have good takedowns. And I think that if Justin Gaethje is able to get on top of Poirier, he might be able to land some vicious grounded pound on top.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, if Justin Gaethje's taking down Rafael Fiziev, I don't see why he should have any more trouble taking down Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, Justin Gaethje does have to be careful of that guillotine. That is one thing Dustin Poirier will pull. And we know that Justin Gaethje's got next to 0% jiu-jitsu, so I don't expect him to take down Dustin. But I'd like to at least see him try a trip from the clinch, or try a takedown at some point. Just to mix up the game. Get Dustin Poirier thinking. Get him on his heels a little bit. Get yourself a bit of a mental edge against Dustin Poirier, because you're going to need it.
And even if he does mix in those takedowns, even if he doesn't get them, just ducking down, make Poirier drop his hands, and if Gaethje lands with a clean overhand right after he feints that takedown, very well be good night.
He could. And Dustin Poirier has gotten rocked, like we mentioned in this recent fight. So has Justin Gaethje. Both these guys have shown that they will get rocked, and maybe even dropped, but they'll continue to fight. And I think that I honestly am going to go with Dustin Poirier in this fight, simply due to the clean boxing technique. I think he's gonna kind of outclass Gaethje in the boxing a little bit, and I think the leg kicks could be an issue for Dustin, but I think he's gonna try to find a way to check those. He might, at least the inside leg kicks.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said what I really can say on why I'm picking Gaethje. Yeah, I'm just gonna give a quick resume of what I did say. Like I believe that it's gonna turn into a war.
It will.
I
This fight
think
will
Dustin
be.
Poirier will be the one to gas.
Mm,
I think Gaethje will pick up the third, fourth, fifth round. I think that Gaethje will end up winning the fight off of a close decision.
do you think he'll go to a
And that's all I
decision?
really have to say about this fight. Like, this is such an exciting fight that it's almost hard to make like a good analysis on it because all I want to do is see them brawl,
It's
and
gonna
that's all
be.
that I feel is
That's all
gonna
it's gonna
happen.
be. It's gonna be a barn burner. We need
That's
to be
gonna
ready for
be.
this. Absolutely.
But it's kind of one of those fights where it's hard to make an analysis because at any moment, any guy could clip the other guy and put them to sleep. Like I said, in a barn burner, I just do believe that Justin Gaethje, it suits him more. He's gonna end up landing. Although Dustin Poirier is the more clean boxer, Gaethje will end up landing the better shots in a war. It just suits his style more. And yeah, that's all that I really have to say about this fight. There's not much more I can really explain. It's such a close fight, and I'm so excited for it. It's gonna be such a war, in my opinion, that, like I said, it's honestly hard to give a good analysis on it.
This is going to be a very good fight. This is going to be a barn burner from start to finish. I actually like. I think someone's getting finished in this fight. If someone's going to get finished, I think it would be Justin Gaethje. Especially with that lack of submission defense, that could be an issue if Dustin Poirier is able to get him to the ground and submit him. But I honestly think that a knockout's going to happen in the third round. Someone's getting knocked out in this third round, and I think it's going to be Justin Gaethje.
Totally fair.
And this is going to be a
Honestly,
barn burner of a fight. Guys, make sure you check out UFC 291 this weekend. This is going to be an absolutely phenomenal fight. I cannot wait for this. This is going to be very exciting.
yeah. Make sure, like, if you enjoyed the video, definitely go subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And also go subscribe to UFC Zone. He's on TikTok and on YouTube. It's the same username for both, right?
No, mine's just zoned, but don't worry. I'll send you my link to the channel. It's on my TikTok. It's on my TikTok. Don't worry, we'll get that sorted out. So we'll have each other's links in the description, so we don't even have to worry about that. That's gonna be easy picking. So go down to the description right now and subscribe to both our channels because we're gonna have a lot of MMA content coming. I actually would like to believe.
Yeah. Both
Because
gonna be
like,
grinding. Both gonna be
oh
putting
yeah,
it all out.
every single week we'll try to get something out. We'll try to get a video out of some sort because there's
Sure.
always gonna be something in MMA to talk about. And to be honest, like it's actually very difficult to find people to talk to about mixed martial arts because you can sit here talk to a
Absolutely.
webcam all day, but after a while you're not gonna have anyone to bounce off of. You're not gonna have anyone to talk to. So this is what we are gonna need in the MMA community.
Exactly. I think this was great. I had a really fun time.
Yeah,
I
this
hope
is
everyone
fun.
watching had fun as well. And honestly, I'd say we should do this again sometime. It's
Absolutely.
perfect. Like,
Oh yeah, this is absolutely it's so much easier to just have a conversation about it, and we can kind of debate about Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. We can debate about Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. We can debate about all these fights, and it makes the viewers kind of have to think for themselves on that one and be like, so is this guy right or is this guy right? So we're gonna
yeah,
find out
exactly.
Saturday night. We're gonna find out Saturday night.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I really got to say on this
Yeah,
card.
absolutely. So
Great
guys,
card.
yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely
guys.
great card. Guys, make sure
And
you
that Saturday
subscribe.
night.
Make sure you subscribe. And we'll see you guys
Thank you,
later.
guys.
We'll see
See
you
you
later.
guys later.